You are so worthy. You feel his presence? Where there is praise, his presence is there. Imagine, if you will, entering the court gate of the tabernacle. The first thing you're going to see is the brazen altar, and it's this big square overlaid in bronze. It's a very prominent sight. It would be smoldering the fire, ready for sacrifice. It immediately reminded the Israelites that they were not worthy to approach God until their sins were atoned for. There was no doubt when you walked in, you saw that altar, and you knew what had to be done. They atoned for their sins by offering a spotless and perfect blood sacrifice. This altar, of course, for us as Christians, was a foreshadowing of Christ's ultimate and perfect sacrifice once and for all. The altar was all about constraining, killing, and burning up flesh. And it is there at that altar and here that we constrain our emotions and our will and submit them to God. We offer up our bodies as living sacrifices of praise and thanksgiving. Paul said in Romans 12, I beseech you therefore, brethren, by the mercies of God, that you present your bodies a living sacrifice, which is our reasonable service. I want you to look at this cross up here and remember the event that occurred. What emotion rises? Is it sadness at the pain that was inflicted here? Maybe it's humility because we don't feel we deserve it. Maybe it's even joy, like, wow, he did that for me. And the result is, I'm saved. I would venture to say that without gratitude, without the spirit of thanksgiving, you cannot experience the power meant for you from this cross, from this event, from this act of passion. Jesus said in John chapter 19 a really important phrase. He said, it is finished. That was his last words before he took his last breath on the cross. And in Greek, it's important, the translation. The Greek is tetelestai. And the word finished in the Greek, it sounds past tense when we say it in English, but it's actually not past tense. It's perfect tense, meaning that it didn't just happen in the past. It happened, still is in effect today. So what Jesus said when he said it is finished, in effect he said, it is finished in the past, it's still finished today, and it will remain forever finished in the future. So all your sins, all your sorrows, all your shame, all your afflictions, the work is finished. What was paid on the cross remains paid. Called The Father's House. The first verse, on this journey, I get lost in my mistakes. What looks to me like weakness is a canvas for his strength. And my story isn't over. My story's just begun. Failure won't define me. That's what my Father does. The cross says you're worthy. The cross says you're sinless. The cross says you're God's beloved. The cross also says anyone you might be offended with. It defines them that way too. provided for you to use for writing down what you feel the Lord wants you to lay down at the cross. This here today is your brazen altar, symbolic. Again, it is finished. But you have the opportunity to symbolically transfer your sins, shame, offense, or anything else that separates you from God. Submit it to God here. It is only the enemy that has convinced you that these things belong to you. Get rid of them. Your shame and your offense and your guilt and your feelings of unworthiness are not welcome in the Father's house. While you think about that, and I want you to really seek God on what he wants you to put on that paper, but I'm going to give you a brief example of a big revelation that God gave me on the cross. I had a few people that were very offended with me, and I didn't know why. And I really wanted to make amends because we had a mutual relationship that was in the middle when they were being affected. And so it was around Christmas time, and I bought them gifts. I bought their babies gifts. And I give gifts to show people. That's how I show people I love them. So it was really big to me. I put my heart in it. And when they received it, I found out later that they got rid of them and sort of made a mockery of my gifts. So I was really heartbroken, and I started to get really angry at them because I just felt this is so undeserved, and I don't get it. So I brought it to the altar, and I was weeping and crying to God. How do I get past this? What do I do for these people? And the vision of him on the cross came to me, and I thought, God, how could you hang on the cross, beaten, pierced, dying in pain? The very people that did this to you, you said, forgive them. They don't know what they're doing. I don't get it. How could you do that? I don't understand that type of forgiveness. And he said, as clear as day to me, because it wasn't them that did it. You need to take the face off and recognize the spirits that use people to torment you. And I'll take that a step further. Sometimes I have to take my face off. I've done things, and I've said things that hurt people, and I think back, and I'm like, I can't believe I did that. That doesn't even sound like me. It wasn't me. Now, that's not to make an excuse. It came out of my mouth. I allowed the enemy to use me. But when I look at it through God's lens, it wasn't you that did it, baby girl. I forgive you. There is no shame and guilt here, because this sacrifice was perfect once and for all. It is done. I pray right now that as you seek God on what to put on this piece of paper, that you understand the significance of this gesture and that you submit your will to him, because sometimes what you're going to put on that paper is you. Sometimes you're going to put a really difficult situation on that paper. But it doesn't belong to you. It belongs up here. Submit your will as they submitted their will at the brazen altar, knowing that this was God's will. Isaiah 53, 4 through 5, surely he has borne our griefs, he has carried our sorrows, yet we esteemed him stricken, smitten by God and afflicted. He was wounded for our transgressions, he was bruised for our iniquities. The chastisement for our peace was upon him, and by his stripes we're healed. When you're ready, come up to the cross, lay your paper down in the basket, and pick up a coin that says paid. Paid. You don't owe anything. It was paid yesterday. It's still paid today, and it remains paid. It is finished. Keep this token as a reminder as you make your way up here with your paper. God bless you.